Maria? Are you recording this, are you?
Yes, I think today I will be more successful.
So if I could just, I'll get started, and I realize people will shortly join. But first of all, if you would allow me to introduce myself. My name is Ross Wainwright. I'm the Centre Director at OnCampus Coventry. Can you all hear me absolutely okay? If you could just do a bit of a text yes, that would be fantastic. Great, okay. So I'm very lucky. I've been working in the international education sector now for 20 years. Sydney, Melbourne. I moved to Cambridge, then to Oxford to work in schools, and now I'm lucky enough to be working with Coventry University's on campus, preparing students for Coventry University. So my presentation today is obviously going to be about the experience at On Campus Coventry, and I'm just going to now move on to that slide. So, like I said, I've been working in the industry for many years now, and I think it's the most enjoyable industry in which to work. I used to do building at one point in my life, and it's very, very different. And I think it's a very rewarding job, and certainly for those of you who are helping students make decisions, big decisions around their future study and careers, it's very satisfying. So thank you for all the work that you do, not just with us, but with everybody in the industry to help students with their choices as to what they're going to do in their future lives. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Coventry University itself, after which I am going to talk about a little bit about how to become an engineer and some information about engineering courses, and then just give you a general knowledge and understanding about Coventry University. So if I could just for a minute find out from you just a couple of questions I'd like to ask. Okay, what is the ranking in the Guardian of Coventry University? If you could just type that in, just to check that you're still listening to me. Oh, 13. Not quite this year. Almost. Anyone? Anyone else? Yes, 15 is correct. Well, good. Well corrected, Dimitro. Absolutely right. So Coventry has been in the top 15 for the last 5 years. It is a modern university, as you know. And okay, I'm just going to share the screen. Can you all see my presentation? Olga, if you could tell me yes. Olga?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, so it's ranked 15th, and we as On Campus Coventry, we provide many start dates and courses that allow students to progress on to the university. So what I'd like to do is just start off with recognizing some of the fantastic degree courses that students can progress onto. So for example, you have mechanical engineering, hospitality, event, tourism management. So in terms of mechanical engineering, and I'll talk about it later, we have our foundation pathway, we have our international year 1 leading on to mechanical, automotive, and motorsport. Okay, so mechanical engineering is your general mechanical engineering course. The automotive does focus on vehicles, and the motorsport focuses on high performance vehicles like you might find in the Formula One. So for example, the students doing those courses in their final year would actually get to build a car out of next to nothing, assemble it, and then race it against the other universities. Hospitality, event, tourism management, where we have pathways from foundation, international year 1, and we also have a pre-masters as well, leading on to hospitality, event management, and also sport management as well. in that area. So as you can see through the listing, I'll pull out a few. Film production and photography. Coventry always ranks very highly in film production and photography. Its school is based in an old cinema, and also it has a very modern and well-equipped TV studio for students to work in as well. Nursing and midwifery is very strong in Coventry. I'll talk a little bit more about that when I talk about the health and life sciences. Architecture is ranked highly. This pathway, this degree requires a student to study foundation in art. And this is very much a portfolio based. So what we would expect for this competitive course is that students come with a little bit of an artistic background, and they could come onto a 3 or a 4 term degree foundation pathway with us. Journalism, geography, my subject, very strong. So business management, marketing, a lot of our students come onto these courses. Business management is by far the most popular for all countries around the world. Okay, and as you can see, there is psychology, which we have an international year 1 for. English, creative writing, and design and crafts, and all of these courses do have accreditations that become very important for students when they are moving into their careers, as they can then refer to these professional bodies for future learning as well. So in terms of what we offer at OnCampus Coventry, we have start dates in September, November, January, February, March, and about 3 in June as well. And they are courses which link to the September start date at the university, the January start date at the university, and the May start date at the university. So the concept there is that whether it be a 9-month foundation course or a 6-month foundation course, an international year 1, if you have a student that's interested in studying in the UK at any time through the year, then we have a course that's available for you. Okay, to prepare your students for the rigors of a Coventry University degree. So, as was stated earlier on, Coventry's ranked very highly. It has sustained that ranking for 5 years. It is the University of the Year for student experience for 2019. Luckily, we're very lucky to have been awarded the City of Culture Prize in 2021. What's really interesting about Coventry at the moment, although it's quietened down in the last few weeks, is we are seeing the city transform. So the university is investing hugely in its facilities for students. And most recently, for example, they've just finished their 2nd engineering building. And it is absolutely state of the art, just opened its doors. And it will be a fantastic facility. 2 years back, it opened its health and life science building at about £60 million. And that building itself is also an excellent facility for students. But for those of you who have visited Coventry, you know that as you walk around, this is very much a university that's focused on the student experience. It is an excellent city in which to study. And the statistic here is that for your students, when you counsel them, is that Coventry graduates are in employment or further study within 6 months. Okay, and it has some very good rankings for its teaching and learning as well. So I did talk about the facilities, so I'm just going to hone in on a couple of them. So I did mention the newest engineering building. This building that you see in the top left is the state-of-the-art £50 million engineering building. In it, there is in the basement, there is one of the best classrooms I've ever seen. And in that classroom, down one side, you have a manufacturing engineering section. In the middle, you have your aerospace engineering, and the other end is the motorsport engineering. On the mezzanine level, there is the electronic and electrical, and up above is the computing. And you know, they run some fantastic computing courses. For example, ethical hacking and cybersecurity, which is becoming much more popular within the engineering building as well. And there are a number of buildings attached to it. For example, in civil engineering, where they run the civil courses, you have courses like disaster management, and Coventry University has one of 3 disaster management studios in the world. Okay, the hub itself is a fantastic student facility. It's open 24/7 for students. This is where the restaurants are. The student union is, which has 130 clubs and societies for students to join. So, you know, it's a great place for students just to hang out.
Ross, sorry for interrupting you, but we can see only the first slide. Is it
really?
okay?
Yeah, okay. Whoops. We need to move on. Sorry. I don't know what happened there. I'm very sorry. Can you see?
Actually, we can just, see the first slide about Coventry University, but nothing else.
Can you see this one?
No, it's static.
Static. Okay. My apologies, people. Okay, I'm not. Thank you for. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and I'll reshare. Okay, can you now see top 20 courses?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, let me just check that it's flicking through. Can you see the ranking now?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, I'm going to leave it like this in this format because it seems not to be wanting to play nicely with me this morning. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ross.
Yeah, my apologies, everybody out there. Okay, so I mentioned those top 20 courses. You might just want to glance down at them to see what I referred to earlier on. This is the slide I was talking to just previously before I then moved on to talk about the facilities. So the Health and Life Science building, the largest academic trading floor in Europe. The library itself is amazing. It's, what would you expect? And I'll just get everybody to perhaps type in something into the chat. What would you expect when you walk into a library? No one's texting me. Books, very good, Dmitro. Yeah, a lot of the books now are online, so students do have access to hundreds of thousands of materials online. Actually, the university's library itself is set up in an interesting way. So on the top, can you still see my screen, Olga? On the top floor, you have what we would call the Disruptive Media Learning Lab. And this is a space where students can come together and work in groups. You walk in and that's actually very, very loud. There are places where students are sitting on a table and there's a whiteboard with a computer screen, and the students can actually just work in groups, come together with their thinking and complete their assignments. The other thing is that there are a lot of computers, yes, on that top floor because it's such a loud space. But then what happens as you work in the library is that depending on the type of work you're doing, you might move down to the quiet floor where you're doing a little bit of chatting with your peers, and there is a little hum in that room. But then below that is a silent floor where actually everybody in there is working really hard on their writing, or they might be doing some quiet reading. So depending on what you're doing in the learning process, there's a space for you. And indeed, in all of the buildings at Coventry, there are these spaces which allow students to undertake this learning. And very much this is complemented by the way Coventry University teaches. It teaches through what they call an activity-led learning approach. So rather than the students having to study a lot of theory and that being delivered by a teacher, they would do a lot of the reading beforehand to then come and apply that and discuss it in class with activities. So for example, they may, in civil engineering, they may be looking at beams and strength of beams. And so they need to look at the physics and the maths that sit behind beams. But then when they get into the class, what they're doing is they're testing the beams. They're looking at the stresses and the forces that might break something. They're also, for example, in the business school, they'll be looking at case studies. In the engineering building, they may be looking at the 3D printing, or they may be looking at certain parts of the machinery, or actually a code in computing, for example. So can you see this slide now, Olga? Progression degrees.
Yes.
Okay, good. So the way Coventry is structured is it has 4 schools, 4 faculties and 13 schools. Okay, so within the Faculty of Business and Law, there is the School of Accounting, Economics and Finance. There's the School of Strategy and Leadership. There is the School of Marketing and Management, and the School of Law. So this has 4 schools. It's the only one that has 4 schools. It has about 8,000, 9,000 students in it. In the Faculty of Arts and Humanities, you have the School of Art and Design, the School of Humanities, and the School of Media and Performing Arts. In terms of engineering, there's a School of Mechanical, Motorsport, Aerospace. There is the Civil and the Built Environment and the School of Computing. Within the Faculty of Health and Life Sciences, you have the School of Biomedical Sciences, the School of Health, and the School of Life Sciences. So within these schools, and across all of these schools and the 4 faculties, there are over 300 degrees onto which students can progress. And certainly the majority of them, students from on-campus Coventry can progress to. Now, I need to also say that students who do come through the Coventry pathway and who want to study in a big city like London, for example, can do this. So we do have students who want to come and they want a city campus experience where they might be studying with 30,000 other students to go down to their London campus, which is based in the heart of London. So there is that choice. And those London courses are mainly business focused courses. Okay, so we have great opportunity for progression within the Coventry University sites. Right. So just quickly going on to the first school, the Faculty of Business and Law has very strong links with industry. Okay, so some of them here are listed, and indeed Jaguar Land Rover and Jaguar Land Rover equally applied to the School of Engineering, the Faculty of Engineering. Peugeot, all of these industries are very interested in Coventry students because of how they are prepared for the workforce. I think, you know, in terms of the workforce and that 97% statistic that I referenced earlier, students do have a great opportunity to undertake what's called a sandwich year as part of their degree. So students would start their first year, undertake that initial learning, then the second year, and then in the third year they would then apply those 2 years of learning to a workplace. That could be at home, it could be in the UK or anywhere in the world. And within the school, the different schools, and certainly at a university level, there is an employment bureau that does assist with finding placements, for example, for students. But you know, a lot of students tend to use their own networking to get jobs, and certainly in the business school, they do have you know, people coming in from industry to talk to students about, you know, which way they might want to move in these degree areas. So accounting, business admin, business management, marketing, economics, events, finance, and sport management. So there is a big focus on employability at Coventry, and certainly I reinforce the whole approach to flipped learning, that activity-based learning and working in groups, and then also supported by the online, the online environment that sort of sits behind that learning, and then also the placement in that third year, and then right at the end, the final project, which wraps it all up in terms of, evaluating and writing something in a lot more detail. So I'm going to move on to law. So there are a range of law degrees, both undergraduate and postgraduate, that students can go on to via on campus. And in terms of the actual staff teaching there, they're practicing lawyers. So, in terms of business law, trade, finance, international law, criminal law, social justice, there are people from the industry working and teaching the students. Okay, that Coventry University has a mock law court. If my students were there at the moment, what would be happening is we would be giving them an experience in that law court, and they'd be dressing up and they would be acting in those positions in the law court to resolve a case. Okay, and that's a lot of fun for our law students. So our law students would come through, for example, the humanities pathway, but at the same time, it's not necessary to come through the humanities pathway. It's the better preparation, given the type of course it is and the learning involved with it. The business course is also a course. So there are two opportunities there for students to come through the business or law preparation onto the degree. Okay. So Olga asked me to touch on becoming an engineer. And so I think it's important that at this point I introduce the Faculty of Engineering, and we start here as to what it means to become an engineer. And I don't know, Olga, if we have any students on. I'm just going to check the participant list. Okay. How many do we have? I can see my colleague Ravjeet has joined as well.
Hey, hello everyone.
Okay, so Ravjeet is a real live physicist that works in Coventry and works very, very closely with the faculty. So what I'm going to do is I will go through what I have to say, and Ravjeet, if you could jump in at points just to sort of help with a bit more detail. Okay. Yeah. So Ravjeet, on a day-to-day basis, Dr. Ravjeet Kaur is a physicist and works closely with the staff in the mechanical aerospace area of the university, the civil, and also computing. So where I'm going to start here is that if you look at that middle text, you can see that in the UK there are 2,308 engineering courses available. Okay, and as you go through that list, you can see that there are very technical and specific types of engineering that a student might want to go on to. So aerospace, biomedical, chemical, electrical, energy, environment, materials, mechanical, mechatronics, oil, gas, robotics, sustainable energy are all out there for the students to choose. It's such a wonderful, wide-ranging field. In terms of preparing for an engineering degree, it's really, really important that students say, for example, in their attestats are taking maths, and they're taking physics, and they're taking other sciences as well. But I'm sure you already know that. Okay, so it'd be similar like when I was running sixth form colleges here in the UK, and students, when I was sitting in your offices, for example, were saying, Ross, how do I become an engineer? I want to do A levels. I want to go to Cambridge. I want to go to Oxford. I want to go to Imperial, for example. So really what we would be advising students is, okay, well, you need your maths. Depending on the university, there is a further maths or a higher tiered maths that one would need to undertake. At the same time, we'll be advising a science or two sciences. So with the engineering, we would always then advise physics as an A level to have as well, followed by maybe biology. It could be chemistry, depending on if they wanted to go into, well, chemical engineering, definitely. But at the same time, we wanted the students to have a bit more of a broader education. So, you know, we tended to offer things like economics or psychology or something like that to help them think in a different way when they get to university. But for on campus, our goal is to really focus the students on what they're doing next. So we focus on physics, we focus on maths, we focus on the skills for science. Okay, we have our personal tutorials as well, but what we try and also do is get the students to engage with the clubs and societies at the university. So there are 150 to choose from. Ravjeet, do you just want to outline quickly what would be required of a student going through maths and physics at on campus along with skills?
Yes. What we expect the students to have at least a good understanding of the GCSE maths, and it will be very beneficial if they further have some understanding of AS maths, you know, class 11 maths. You know, we do build on AS and A-level maths when we do a foundation course, but if they have a grand understanding at the GCSE level, then it's easier for the students to pick up that skill. I think also what we introduced this year was our on-canvas course. We really stress the students that the one that are joining under engineering courses to complete that canvas course in maths and physics, because the way we have built up the course is a very basic maths and physics skills. So if they do that, then they probably are in a good position to finish the foundation course with flying colors.
Yeah, absolutely. So our approach is that what we want what our students to have is strong maths and physics skills and skills in sciences so that they can succeed on their course. So we've noticed that students who want to become engineers sometimes don't have strong maths or strong physics. So what we've done is we've created quite a comprehensive pre-arrival course that we expect all of our engineers to do 4 to 6 weeks before they start our foundation course. And that's to log in and to start going through the types of topics and questions that they may encounter when they arrive with us. And actually Ravjeet oversees all of that, and so she's working in the background to work with students even before they've arrived to engage them in the subjects. What we then do is we test students on arrival because we want to know where the gaps are in their learning. That's really important for us because then we can target our delivery to those students. And if the students look like they're going to struggle on our on arrival testing, we will then offer them what we call plus classes, which are an additional 2 hours per week, where in physics, maths, or both, where they're in very small groups and we can focus in on bridging the gaps those students have. And already we're seeing a much higher success rate of those students who are engaging with the pre-arrival, the on-arrival, the plus classes, and just with their basic learning in the classrooms. Not only do they need to have strong mathematics and science backgrounds, they actually need to have a passion for their subject. So, you know, when they talk about what they're doing or what they want to do, they researched it, they've thought about whether it's going to be mechanical, it's going to be motorsport, or it's going to be automotive. We would expect them to think about some sort of experience or volunteering, perhaps in their spare time. They're making things, they're breaking things. For example, when we go and visit the civil engineers and take our students there, the civil engineers love to say, look, we love breaking stuff, because if, we can't break it, it means it's going to stand up. So they're always testing things. Okay. And I think what then becomes important is how the student engages in the research about which degree they would like. In my career, a lot of the students have always come to me and said, Ross, I want to go to Cambridge, I want to go to Oxford, but what degree do you want to do? And then all of a sudden they go into the type of degree they want, and that university doesn't offer it. Okay, so it's really important to focus in on the type of degree and the subject area, and then look at university. And the great thing about Coventry is we cover a whole range of different degrees. So, a few there that I'll say Coventry doesn't offer, okay, is the biomedical engineering, chemical engineering, for example, okay, and marine engineering as well. So, Coventry does offer a good range of courses for students in a practical approach to delivery. Just watching my dog in the background, sorry. So, it is a good university to come to for a hands-on degree. These people need to be highly analytical. They need to be able to break things down. They need to look at the individual parts. They need to bring it back together. They have to think things through logically. So mathematics and the subject of physics are very good for developing those skills. But then it's not just about that sort of technical area. Students in engineering, the engineering world, need to be imaginative and creative, and they need to problem solve, and they need to work with different people in the industry. They need to get together in teams. They need to be able to lead on something. They then need to be able to follow on things just as well. So communication skills are really, really important in terms of working with teams. And while I mentioned breaking things early on, they need to enjoy building and changing things and changing the way they think and adapting to new problems. And certainly leadership is key as well, because that covers a whole range of these skills, and it's about taking something, running with it, understanding the people around you, how they work individually, how they work together, and how to be able to communicate effectively, plan effectively, and execute something as well. And of course, like all of us, I'm sure, the continuous learning is an important part of what we do. We all need to learn how our industries are changing to be able to stay ahead of the game. So I hope that was helpful. I will just go on to something. Can you see this, Olga? It's the state of the industry in terms of employability. Can you see that? Okay,
yes,
good.
We can see it.
Okay, so as you can see, this is where a lot of the people are employed in the UK. So 731,000 are employed in automotive, okay, and 200,000 in oil and gas. And you can see how large the sectors of engineering are, and how strong the sectors are in growth, and for example, how many vehicles were produced in 2013. That's sort of tailed off recently, but engineering is going to be a good choice for students. Along with this, we need to consider the salary as well. So this is from a few years back, but as an engineer, the starting salaries are around £27,000. So it's a pretty good salary. Compared to doctors who are £32,000 and they are taking 5-6 year degrees, with an engineer taking a 3 or 4 year degree, depending on if it's a sandwich course, you can compare. Students who come through the life sciences and maybe do physiotherapy, they are on about £26,000 per year. So it gives you a sense of, what it means to become an engineer, how important engineers are within our own industries, but at the same time, what students are going to earn as well. Any questions on that? You're welcome to speak or you're welcome to text. Sorry, Mitro, I'd need to get back to you on that one. Just realized you've put in a question there for me. Okay, I'll keep going. Oh, hang on, there's a question. Thanks, Nitro. Thank you for your understanding. Right. Just getting back into the presentation. Okay. So moving on. I mentioned the courses at Coventry. Okay, they're strong links with industry. Jaguar, Lotus, BMW, GE Aviation are all within the centre itself. You know, there's a jet aeroplane, there are flight simulators, there are motor cars to work on. There's a Cruden. I don't know if any of you know what a Cruden is, but it's a racing vehicle that sort of sits on stilts and is hydraulically powered and will move you in through a circuit, and it's quite fun. So if any of you do come to Coventry, I'll endeavour to get you onto that, because yeah, it's a good toy to learn from, and what it does actually is you can drive it, and the driver will be in it. You can program it to a certain type of vehicle, but at the back end there are a whole lot of screens, and so you know, learners can analyze how that performance of the vehicle, or how the I'm very sorry, this is what happens when working from home. I have a dog knocking on the door. I'm going to be 10 seconds, excuse me. Okay. So my apologies. That's my other daughter. Okay. So computer science. Just quickly on this, mechanical. We have an international year 1, as I mentioned earlier, for mechanical engineering. Computer science, hardware, software engineering, computing. We're now going through the process of writing an international year 1 in computing, and this seems to be quite popular. Electrical electronic engineering, again, very popular with our students, and certainly an opportunity for students coming from your regions as well. Hello? Is that? Okay, thank you. Moving on to the health and life sciences. Okay, Coventry is really very strong in the health and life sciences. The building that they've built, the £60 million science and health building, is amazing. It's been designed in a way that takes you through a patient journey. So for the open days, the faculty staff will, for example, create a car accident scene. So from that scene, which is the start of the patient journey, you will have the paramedic scientists attend to that scene to take that person into the ambulance, which is located on the ground floor. So in that ambulance, the paramedic scientists are able to treat the patient. From the actual ambulance, they will then move the patient up to the operating theatre, where they have people working in that profession. So from the operating theatre, they'll go into the critical care wards. From the critical care wards, they'll go in to the recovery wards, and so the nurses will play a role in that part of the patient journey. And then from that hospital ward, people then need to go home. So a lot of work that is taking place in the UK, and I'm sure in your countries, is supporting people in their own houses and making sure that they can live after an accident, or if they have disability, they're able to cope with living in a house. So Coventry University has built 2 houses in its life science faculty. So one house is called an assisted living house, which is designed for people with disabilities. So these people will have, for example, in this house, they will have mechanical benches that drop if they're in a wheelchair, for example, or the cupboards. You know, you can press a button down here and the cupboard will come down so they can take a cup out and use it. And so there is that type of house, but also there is a house that, yes, hi.
Sorry to interrupt you. There's someone that cannot see your PowerPoint. So I think if you can share the screen again, please, so we all can see.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay, we back on?
Yes, I can see. So if everybody else can type yes or no in the chat box, that'd be great. Yes, good.
Thank you. Super sorry about that. Thank you. And please do jump in and tell me when my PowerPoint decides to have a mind of its own and have a break. Okay, so all of these areas make for a really good student experience, and so we're very lucky. So Ravjeet also actually overlooks the life sciences courses. So we're very lucky to have exclusive progression onto courses like physiotherapy, occupational therapy, and nursing. So, for example, Coventry will only accept students from on-campus foundation. We have a quota of, I think it's about 15 students for physiotherapy, and the only foundation provider for physiotherapy as well. So we're very lucky we have this really good, strong relationship with the university. Our students will meet the admissions tutors as they go through their course. They will learn about the care principles of the NHS. We will help them with personal statements. We'll support them in terms of what an interview is like, because that can be quite daunting for students in, when they're meeting home students, that they have to interact together. So we do a lot of work with our students, and in the last 4 years, we've grown from about 3 students, and Ravjeet, I think we're probably up around 70 now.
That's right, 73, yes.
73. So we've grown 70 students in about 4 years. And, I'm very happy to say that just recently, we had out of 21 students, 16 physiotherapists, 16 got an offer for physiotherapy. So we're doing a lot of work with our life scientists going on. But like I said, there are other courses there, like food science, dietetics, forensic sciences, there's sports and exercise science, sports therapy, there's sports coaching, there's criminology, there's psychology. There are just a fantastic range of courses. And on the top floor of the health and life science building is a laboratory for the biomedical scientists, which holds 250 people and is completely paperless. So students will walk in, they'll have an iPad, they'll get an earpiece, and they'll work somewhere along that laboratory and be able to engage with the tutor. Coventry is built on an art and design school. It's 175 years old. Okay, so it's one of the oldest in the country, if not the oldest, and has a great range of different courses in the Faculty of Art and Design. So architecture, graphic design, illustration, fine art, games art, interior architecture and design are all courses our students can go on to. And we're very lucky as well, because we have an international year 1 which goes on to graphic design and illustration and graphics as well. These are portfolio-based courses. If a student is interested in art, however, we do have a 4-term course. And if they don't have a portfolio, they are welcome to come and join that course. But we would expect some level of design thinking and skill in drawing, stroke painting, 3D, something like that anyway, to show a range of skills in a portfolio. Okay. Okay, a strong course in Coventry is automotive design. It's one of the strongest, if not the strongest, automotive design course in the world. So students who are interested in designing perhaps a Lada later, you know, the future versions, then this would be a fantastic course for them. Okay. And then I mentioned media and performing arts. The Tank is their studio. They also have photographic suites, black and white rooms, and moving on to degrees like photography, media production, media communication, journalism, politics, digital media, all from the on-campus courses. Okay. So just a bit about us. So my apologies. I think no. Can't go out. You have to wait. Okay. Okay. So just to give you a little bit of information about us, I mentioned earlier on that if you have a student at any time of the year, we have a start date. It's pretty much true. So we have, I'm going to let the dog out. Excuse me. This is one of the problems of working from home, and you know, my wife and daughter are not here at the moment, so I have to manage the dog, and yeah, it becomes challenging. So we have our foundation programs, which I'm sure you're all aware of. Okay, we have all of this starting in September in terms of the IFP, January, and then in February we have. So September, we have them all starting November. We have a business course, business foundation, which leads to a May BA, which runs for 2 years. In January, we start all of the courses again, and students can join all of the foundation courses. In February, we have a 6-month intensive for life science, humanities, engineering, business and law. In March, we've just opened up life science on top of business and law foundation. And in June, we'll also have a 6-month life science, engineering and business and law course leading to January next year. So the next start date for us is in June with a 6-month intensive course. We had an intake in April, and of the students that were due to come to us, 70 have decided that they want to enroll online and start their studies and join us a little bit later when the environment's much better. And I'll talk about what we're doing very shortly. So International Year 1, Business, Engineering, Art and Design, Psychology, all available. Media and Communication and Computing, we are hoping to have ready for September. In terms of the postgraduate courses, we have MQP in business, life science, engineering, and the human and social sciences. So we would expect at least a level 5 or 6 degree for students to come on to those courses. Okay, we have accommodation options as well in Coventry. Okay, and those accommodation here, those accommodation options are all brand new and have been built in the last year or 2. So we have excellent facilities available to students. And one of the good things about Coventry on-campus students is that we have full access to the Students' Union. This is the hub that you see in front of you here. We have full access to the library as well. And students can access the university facilities as part of their enrollment. Okay. Now, just to sort of wrap up and perhaps hand over to questions, just to explain what we're doing. We've, like all the other international institutions and schools in the UK and around the world, we've had to transform what we've done to make sure that our students are learning and they can progress to Coventry University. So we had to move very quickly And I'm very thankful to my team, who you know, we're very lucky to have had someone that's had experience with online learning, Rebecca Mason, who you know, oversaw young learners in British Council Poland, come to us last year, and was able to lead on this, along with people like Ravjit, who has also some experience in the online learning. Now, what we've done is we've created our system where we create online lectures at the start of the week. Through the week, we have seminars. We then break that down further into smaller group Q&A sessions, where students then have to come prepared even more for specific questions to ask their tutors. And then we also wrap that around with personal tutorials, and we also have study hours for students where they should be studying in their timetable. So that's what we're doing. On top of that, we're engaging with the university, with the Students' Union, and they have quite a few online activities as well, so virtual environments in which students can join. And at the same time, you know, our welfare team is in contact with the students to check in. So our students, for example, some of them have learning challenges. We're in constant contact with them to make sure that they're feeling okay, they're not too overwhelmed. And indeed, our accommodation providers are in contact with our students, as are we, to make sure that they're all feeling safe and secure in their environment. It's a really challenging time, and we're working very hard to support our students and to support you out there, knowing that, you know, students will come to you with queries as well. So if you do have any students with us, then you know, we would please, you know, encourage you to come to us with any questions you may have as well, so we can answer them. And we're communicating almost on a daily basis to our students. They're all online. I've spoken to about 40 already, and they seem to be on the whole enjoying the online lessons. It's very participation. If you have any questions, I'll stick around for a little bit longer. You can text, or you can actually open the microphone and ask me directly. Thank you, everyone.
Ross, can you please touch on the accommodation? I think one of the questions was about accommodation. Do we have accommodation for a pre-master's student?
Oh, yes, we do. So we have, and I'll get that slide up for you. So we have a number of residences. One's called Paradise Place, which is about 8 minutes. We have, I think, about 200 beds in there. We have Study Inn as well, which is about 5 minutes from the campus. So these are actually really good places for pre-master's students to live in. And we have quite a few pre-master's students living in these accommodations. Any other questions? Just to say as well, for June, obviously we don't know what's happening. We are planning for 2 scenarios. One, and I hope it's the case, it will be that we teach face-to-face. 2, if not, we will deliver like we're delivering now in April, and that will be online. Okay, so I'm not seeing any more questions. And I'd like to really thank you all for your presence this morning. I'm sorry about my little doggy interrupting my presentation, but I guess such is the nature of working from home. There are these interruptions. So again, warm greetings from Oxford, where it's going to be a really nice sunny day. I hope it's you know, sunny and bright where you are as well. And stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ross.
Thanks, Ross.
Thank you.